Hello everyone. Today we will be looking at how to do a calculation for a suppository prescription. My name is Sukhpreet Gill and I am a fourth year student and part of the class of 2021 at California North State University College of Pharmacy. This video is part of my API rotation with Dr. Lay and will be compounded in the PRC 609 lab. So what we have to begin with is our prescription. This is what we will be working from. But first, before we start working on calculations, let's interpret what this actually means. So we will look at the prescription portion first. The API is indomethacin, and we see the formula calls for 25 milligrams. The oleaginous base is fatty base, and we see that the formula for the quantity is listed as QS, which means quantity sufficient. The compounding directions are listed here, which translate to mix and make. We also see a dispensing quantity here, which means dispense such a dose of 2 suppositories. A point of clarification here is that this formula is listed for 1 suppository, and we need to dispense 2 suppositories to our patient. The SIG, or directions, state for us to consult our patient to insert rectally 1 suppository, PRN or as needed, at bedtime for arthritis. Here we have some further compounding instructions. We see that we will be making the suppositories in 1.76 milliliter molds. Another very important piece of information we will need is the specific gravity of fatty base, which is 0.89 at 37 degrees Celsius. Now, we see that even though we will be dispensing 2 suppositories, we will need to make 3 so as to compensate for any potential loss while we are making them. We also have another really important piece of information where it states the density factor of fatty base is assumed to be around 1. This is important and we will be coming back to that during our calculations later. So for our first calculation, we will start with indomethacin. Remember, the formula we had called for 25 milligrams. That was in 1 suppository, according to our compounding directions. What we need to do is figure out how many grams we will need for our desired quantity of 3 suppositories. So here we have our reminder of what our compounding instructions translate to. And we can set this up to multiply 3 suppositories times the 25 milligrams that are needed for 1 suppository. The units would cancel out, and we can solve through that for 3 suppositories we will need 75 milligrams, which is also 0.075 grams. Next, we will calculate how much fatty base we need. The formula we have states that we need QS, or quantity sufficient, of fatty base to make our suppository. So we will need to solve how much we need for our 3 suppositories that we are making. We can start off by utilizing the size of the mold, which is 1.76 milliliters, and multiplying that by the specific gravity of fatty base, which is 0.89. This gives us a weight of 1.5664 grams of fatty base in 1 suppository. That would be the amount of fatty base needed to fill up 1 suppository mold completely, and does not account for any medication or API such as indomethacin, which we are planning to add in. Remember, earlier we read that the density factor of fatty base was assumed to be around 1. This means that there is negligible difference between fatty base and indomethacin that we would need to account for when calculating how much of each component to use. Therefore, to calculate the grams of fatty base needed, we can subtract the total amount of fatty base to fill a mold all on its own from the amount of indomethacin we know from our formula that will be in 1 suppository. But we're making 3 suppositories, so we can actually multiply that by 3. We'll go ahead and cancel out some units and get our total grams of fatty base needed, which is 4.62 grams. And now, finally, before we move forward to compounding the prescription, We want to make sure that we have calculated everything we need and go over our answers one final time. So for 3 suppositories, we will need 0.075 grams of indomethacin and 4.62 grams of fatty base. To recap, today we went over how to calculate for a suppository compounding prescription. I hope this video was helpful and you feel comfortable and are ready to perform these calculations on your own now. Thank you for your attention.